I've heard lots of missionary stories, and so many of them begin with, I knew I was called to missions when I was like 8. And I always kind of wish that God would have done that for me. I was 29 when my husband came home from camp meeting and said that God was calling us to missions. And I wasn't feeling that. Then he told me he'd already talked to our pastor, and our pastor was really excited, and his dream had been that someone from the church would rise up and be called, and the whole church would get behind him and send him, and this was kind of like a done deal, and I'd been just hearing about it. And I said, no. I had a good life. I liked my life. We had ministry going on in the church. I liked that too. And then Pastor Marvel called me into his office. He wanted to talk to me because Don said I wasn't agreeable. I had just all but idolized Pastor Marvel, and I didn't want him to think that I was, spiritually inadequate. So when he asked me to pray about this, I told him I would, but I had no intention of doing that, because once you ask God if that's what you're to do, he can say yes. And I didn't want to have that conversation with God. So I was just totally ignoring that piece in my prayer life, thinking that that would work, and it didn't. All the things I liked about my life, the things that made me comfortable and the things that made me happy, were suddenly no longer doing that for me. I felt restless, unhappy. My marriage, which was good, suddenly had this, Don was the messenger of news I didn't want to hear, and that was a problem. And one day we were both teaching in church, and we were teaching college-age singles. And it was my turn to teach, and the verse was, "As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord." I have never had so much trouble getting a lesson together. I was starting to recognize that I was living in disobedience by not talking with God about this. Anyway, so what we were doing, another thing I had done was I volunteered for everything in church, thinking if I got really busy, God wouldn't move me. So at this point in time, we had 3 services. And so Don and I were going to the early service, and then teaching college-age singles in the second service, and doing children's church in the third service. So in the first service, we were there. And of course, they sang the song, "Father, I adore you, lay my life before you." And the congregation was singing, and this is a weird experience that I had never had before or since, but the singing just faded away. I felt completely alone in the room, and then there was just this warmth and this presence, and I couldn't sing the words anymore. And God spoke to me and said, "You haven't laid your life down." And I thought I had, and that really shook me up. And that's the day I knew I had to start praying about it. And it took God about 2 weeks to turn me around completely to where I was not only willing to go, I wanted to go. And looking back on all of that now, I realized that God had much better plans for me than I did.